So, some basic facts about hearing loss. Hearing loss is the third most common physical condition after arthritis and heart disease. At age 65, 1 out of 3 people have hearing loss problem. And at age 75 and over, it's 2 out of 3 people. And it is also occur in children and newborns too. Hearing loss occurs in 5 out of every, sorry, I'm not changing the slides. So it occurs 5 out of every 1,000 newborns, and approximately 3 million children in the US have hearing loss problem. One most interesting thing here is people with a hearing loss wait at least an average of 7 years before seeking help. So being hard of hearing is very frustrating. Having trouble hearing can make it hard to understand and follow a doctor's advice, to respond to warnings, and to hear doorbells and alarms. It can also make it hard to enjoy talking with the friends and family. All of this can be frustrating, sometimes embarrassing, and even dangerous. So I pull up a quote from Helen Keller. Blindness cuts us off from things, but deafness cuts us off from people. So here is a small joke. I think you need a hearing test. He says, why the heck do I need a heavy chest? Another one. So what do wives say? Go to the store, lay down the mulch, wash and wax the car, get the kids at school, rent some videos, and finish the rest of the dishes. What husbands hear? Go, lay down, and get some rest. That is a selective hearing, not a hearing loss, right? So how we hear? So hearing is a complex process of picking the sound and attaching a meaning to it. So ear has 3 parts. So if you see this picture, this is the ear canal, eardrum, it is the outer ear, and from here to here this is the middle ear, and here this is the inner ear. This is a cochlea. This is the main part in hearing. It forms a nerve from here and the auditory nerve goes to the brain. And these semicircular canals, it all participates in a balance. It helps in our keeping, it helps for our balance. In vertigo, they may have some problems with the semicircular canals. So here you can see, so sound wave, so this is auditory canal, moves through the ear canal, strikes the eardrum, and it causes vibration of the eardrum. The sound waves from the eardrum, the vibrations go, there is a small bones in the middle ear, 3 bones. It's formed as a chain. It sends these bones in the middle ear into motion, and it causes change. The inner ear has fluid. It causes changes in the fluid in the inner ear cochlea, and the inner ear has air cells, which cause the movement of the air cells. the small air cells in this cochlea they change this fluid movement into electric impulses, which are sent to the hearing nerve, through the hearing nerve to the brain, and then we hear the sound. This is the colored part. The pink colored part is the outer ear. This is the ear canal, eardrum here. This sound wave travels down through the ear canal and vibrates this eardrum. The middle ear, here, if we expand these three bones attached to each other, and the vibrations cause the movement in the small bones, and in turn it causes fluid moving in the inner ear. And this is the cochlea, the nerve inside the cochlea, small hair cells, which makes the electric impulses from the movement of the fluid, and these travel down to the auditory nerve or hearing nerve to the brain. And the brain interprets all these electric signals into the sound. So, types of hearing. There are three types. Conductive hearing loss, types of hearing loss. Conductive hearing loss, sensory neural hearing loss, and mixed hearing loss. So, conductive hearing loss, what is it? When hearing loss is due to problems with the ear canal, eardrum, or middle ear, and its small bones. So, some possible causes. So, more common is a wax or foreign body, or some outer ear infections like a swimmer's ear, eardrum rupture. Sometimes we build up fluid in the ear with the eustachian tube dysfunction, especially with the cold or congestion, ear infections, absence or malformation of ear. Sometimes they grow tumors. Some small tumors from the bones can form. Second type is a sensory neural hearing loss. When hearing loss is due to problems of the inner ear, also known as a nerve-related hearing loss. This is the most common type of permanent hearing loss. So, causes of sensory neural hearing loss. Presbycusis or age-related hearing loss, exposure to loud noise. Noise is one of the leading causes of hearing loss. Listening to headphones at a high volumes over time can cause permanent damage to hearing. And some medications, it may be hereditary sometimes, like it can genetic can come from the ancestor, like parents, if they have some genetic problems and they had the similar problem. Illnesses like diabetes, high blood pressure, head trauma. And third type is a mixed hearing loss. It's a combination of both conductive hearing loss and a sensory neural hearing loss. It may be due to one of the problem in the outer ear or middle ear, and also in the inner ear or auditory nerve or in the brain. So why do we lose hearing as we grow older? It arises from changes in the inner ear as we age, but it can also result from changes in the middle ear, certain medical conditions, and medications may also play a role. So you can test yourself for hearing loss. Like ask these following 8 questions. If you answer yes to 3 or more of these questions, you could have a hearing problem and you may need to have your hearing checked. So what are those questions? Do you have a problem hearing over the telephone or cell phone? Do you have trouble hearing in a noisy background? Third one, do you have trouble following the conversation with the 2 or more people talking at the same time? Next one, do people complain that you turn the TV volume up too much? Do you have to strain to understand conversation? Do you find yourself asking people to repeat themselves? Do family members or co-workers remark about you are missing what has been said? Do many people I talk to seem to mumble or not speak clearly? These are the 8 questions. So I mentioned tinnitus and vertigo very briefly because these are other related kind of problems related to hearing loss. Tinnitus is a ringing in the ears, and vertigo is a spinning or dizziness.
What causes tinnitus?
So I'm coming here. So what is tinnitus? There are some possible causes here. Tinnitus is also described as ringing in the ear. It can be sound like hissing, buzzing, clicking, or roaring. Causes are similar to hearing loss, like noise exposure, ear infections, illnesses, medications, etc. Similar to hearing loss. Tinnitus is sometimes the first sign of hearing loss. Nearly 25 million Americans have experienced tinnitus. So what is vertigo? Vertigo is a type of dizziness where there is a sense of movement or spinning. Sometimes nausea and vomiting may accompany. Some possible causes. Benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, which is with a movement of the head in specific directions. If you move in a specific direction, you feel dizzy. That we call it as a benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. And sometimes the inflammation or infection in the inner ear, labyrinthitis, Meniere's disease, head injury, and there are some other causes, and it may not be related to the ear problem. Sometimes the dizziness can be related to a heart problem or maybe stroke or brain problem. So just I mentioned a few causes because it's related to ear also. So if you notice any problem like, oh, I feel like I have hearing loss, hard to hear, or I have tinnitus or vertigo, then you better check with your primary doctor. And sometimes you're maybe having some wax build up in both ears, can't hear. So we can do at our office. If there is a foreign body or infection, we can take care. And if it's nothing like that, and we will refer to audiologist, and they can do proper hearing test and recommend if you need a hearing aids or any other options. And to another ear, nose, throat doctors if there is other problems.
So in the slides that you just saw, my first few slides will kind of touch on some of those statistics. So about 1 in 6 adults has trouble hearing, and that just increases as we get older. About 43% of adults over 70 years old have some trouble hearing. And then she already just reviewed these possible causes of hearing loss. A big one is noise exposure, especially as we get older. That's something that's cumulative over your lifetime. So if you had a lot of noise exposure as a child, that can show up in hearing loss as an adult. And then these are some of the signs. Difficulty hearing in background noise. The tinnitus can be a ringing, it can be a buzzing sound or a roaring sound. And it definitely can happen from damage to the inner ear. It can also be from too much wax in the ears or fluid buildup. And sometimes it's even just a misfiring of signals in the brain, sending a signal that's not even there. So if you have hearing loss, the first place to start is going to your primary care doctor. They'll refer you to ENT or an audiologist, where we'll do a full hearing evaluation and determine what kind of hearing loss there is, how much there is, and if hearing aids would be a good option. A hearing aid is an electronic device. It's basically a computer chip that sits in or on your ear. There's a microphone on it. If that takes in the sound, the computer chip analyzes it, determines what's speech and what's noise, and then makes it so that you can hear where you need it most, so where there's the most hearing loss. So when a hearing aid is chosen, I'm skipping around on my slides a little too much here. Let me find, here we go. So there's a few things that need to be considered when you're choosing a hearing aid. Number one is the hearing loss, how much hearing loss there is, and not only how much hearing loss there is, but how well you're able to make use of sound. So we test speech when we do a hearing evaluation to see if it's loud enough, if you're making use of that, and that can help us determine how good a hearing aid would be. We also want to look at what kind of activities you do throughout the day on a daily basis, any limitations you have, whether it's with dexterity of your hands, vision can play a role in that. And then also cosmetic preferences. A lot of people like smaller hearing aids that are less visible, less noticeable on the ear, but then that can translate into more difficulty in terms of putting it in, changing the batteries and things like that. And then I skipped ahead there, but cost is also a very important factor in there. The size and shape of the hearing aid doesn't affect cost anymore, but it's what's inside the hearing aid that really plays a big part in how much the hearing aids will cost. Another big question that people have is, do I need 1 or 2 hearing aids? That completely depends on your hearing loss. Most of the time, 2 hearing aids are going to be recommended. Some of the reasons for that is there's a better balance of sound. You can hear better in noisy situations and then better tell where sounds are coming from with 2. And then the different kinds of hearing aids. There's different sizes, shapes. Some go in the ear, some are behind the ear. And the technology which is inside the hearing aids it all varies. So here in these pictures, some of these right here are in the ear hearing aids, and the other ones sit over and behind the ear. Behind the ear hearing aids are one of our most flexible types of hearing aids. There would be an ear mold that's custom made that fits in your ear, and that's how the sound gets into your ear. And this type of hearing aid can fit most types of hearing losses. Typically, this is not a hearing aid that people like if they want it to be small and discreet. It can be a little bigger on the ear. One solution to that issue is what we call receiver in the canal hearing aids. This can be the same size as a behind the ear hearing aid. They also do get considerably smaller, and the reason for that is the receiver or the speaker where the sound comes out, it goes through a wire down into your ear canal. So less of the components have to be behind your ear. And then there's the in-the-ear hearing aids. They are all custom to your ear. They vary in size from filling up your full ear to going so far into the ear canal that it's not even noticeable. The smaller those are, the less flexibility we have with them and the less we can do with those hearing aids. But that does have some cosmetic appeal. And then briefly going back to the BTEs, the power BTEs are considerably larger. They're for people with severe to profound hearing loss. And a lot of times if you're in that range, this is the only option to get enough power into your ears so that you can get some benefit from them. So in terms of how they work, in general, most hearing aids today are automatic, meaning they will automatically adjust based on if you're in a quiet environment or a noisy environment. But the higher we go up, there are up to typically 5 levels of technology, and the higher you go, the more features there are, the more automatic they can be, the less you would have to do in adjusting the hearing aids yourself. Also, the higher the cost, typically, as we go up in features. All hearing aids today are digital. There used to be what were called analog hearing aids, but with advances in technology and being able to get these components as small as they do, all hearing aids essentially have a computer chip in them that is programmed via the computer to adjust them based on your hearing loss, based on your preferences of the way you want things to sound, as well as the environments that you're in. And a lot of times when comparing older hearing aids to the new ones today, people say they sound a lot more natural and a lot more clear. Another nice thing that goes along with these advancements in digital hearing aids is accessories. The most common accessory that I have worked with is the remote control. So that is something handheld that you can keep in your pocket, and you can turn up and down the volume, you can change programs and things like that without having to find that button on the hearing aid, because they can be pretty small on the hearing aids themselves. Some other accessories that are available are Bluetooth neck loops. And what that is, it's a neck-worn device, and you can connect then to your cell phone if it has Bluetooth, a computer. There's other accessories that you can then connect to a TV or other devices so that you can stream that sound directly into your ears. Instead of turning, say on your phone, the speaker on or having the TV louder than maybe other people want to have it. These devices, you can personalize it to your own hearing ability. Expectations for hearing aids is a tricky thing to talk about. It takes time to adjust to hearing aids. They may not be perfect the first time you put them on. A lot of those sounds you're hearing, again, for the first time, and we have to kind of retrain our brains to either ignore those sounds if it's the sound of a clock ticking or the refrigerator running, and then focus on what you do want to hear. Hearing aids don't get rid of all background noise. However, they do a really good job of reducing it. And that, combining with the hearing aids being able to tell what speech is, it enhances the speech for you and gets rid of that background noise, which can make it easier to hear in those noisier situations than not having hearing aids at all. This is a gradual process, and it will take time. You may want to just wear them a few hours a day at a time and then just increase that as you get more comfortable with them. Let's see. Also, getting them in and out is something that needs to be practiced. It's not often something that is very easy the first time you do it, and it takes some practice, but that does get easier. And in terms of wearing them and how long you should wear them, speaking with your audiologist about exactly what you should be doing is the best way to go. So some possible problems with hearing aids can be people say their own voice. I'm sorry, I've completely forgot to advance. Oh, there we go. Some people complain that their own voice is too loud, and that's called occlusion. It's when you can kind of get the same effect if you put your fingers in your ears and you can hear your own voice when you talk. that can happen with hearing aids, but there are features in the hearing aids to adjust for that. Along with just time wearing them, you will adjust to the new way that your own voice sounds. Another issue with hearing aids is the whistling sound. That can happen if it's not fit correctly, if it's too powerful, or even if there's wax in your ears, that can send that sound back out of the hearing aid and then cause that squealing. With the advancements of digital hearing aids, that's gotten immensely better as well. And there's a test that we can run to make sure that that doesn't happen, or minimize, actually. That will happen on occasion, but we can minimize how often that happens. Another problem, and I spoke of this already, background noise. The hearing aids won't get rid of all background noise, but there's definitely adjustments we can make. So if they're not great in background noise the first time you wear them, adjustments can be made when you go back to see your audiologist, and we can do everything we can to minimize that and to make speech more clear in those noisy situations. And just some quick tips on caring for your hearing aids. We want to keep them away from moisture because that will damage them. Heat as well. Batteries need to be replaced depending on the size every 1 to 2 weeks. And so that's something you want to do regularly and make sure that they're working in order to give you benefit. We would go over how to clean them. They do need some maintenance on a daily to weekly basis. You'd want to avoid using hairspray or any other products on them because that can plug up the microphones and make them stop working for you. At night you want to turn off the hearing aids by opening the battery door. That'll make the batteries last longer for you when you're not using them. It'll also minimize that squealing sound. That won't happen as much if you turn them off. And then just keeping extra batteries and hearing aids away from small children and pets. Dogs especially, but even cats too, they think that's their toy and they want to chew on them. And they do. And so you want to keep them away so that you don't need to replace them.